Hello, friends. Today, we are going to address a crucial topic that permeates the sacred pages of the Bible, the serious sins that displease God. These are aspects of our conduct that can distance us from the love and grace of God. Therefore, it is essential to recognize them and avoid them in our lives to strengthen our relationship with the Creator. Let's delve into these fundamental issues based on biblical teachings. Pride and arrogance. The first serious sin that displeases God is pride and arrogance. The Bible repeatedly warns us about the dangers of these attitudes. In Proverbs 16:18 we read, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." This verse reminds us that when we elevate ourselves in pride, we are putting ourselves on a collision course with spiritual downfall. The classic example of this sin is the story of Lucifer, who because of his pride was expelled from heaven. In Isaiah 14:12-15, we see his fall described as a result of his arrogance and desire to be equal to God. This shows us how pride can corrupt even the highest beings and warns us about the importance of humility before God. Injustice and exploitation. Another serious sin that displeases God is the practice of injustice and exploitation. The Bible is clear in condemning any form of oppression and exploitation of the weak. In Isaiah 1:17, God instructs us to learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. These verses remind us that our conduct should be guided by justice and compassion. The exploitation of the less fortunate, whether economically, socially, or in any other way, is an affront to divine principles of love and fairness. Therefore, we must always strive to act with justice and respect towards all our fellow beings. Idolatry and worship of false gods. A third serious sin that displeases God is idolatry and worship of false gods. The Bible is emphatic in prohibiting any form of worship or veneration of idols. In Exodus 23:5, the 10 Commandments warn us against idolatry, stating that the Lord our God is zealous and does not tolerate the worship of other gods. Idolatry can manifest in various ways in our lives, whether through devotion to material objects, the relentless pursuit of power or status, or even the worship of ideologies or philosophies that place themselves above God's will. We must be vigilant not to allow anything or anyone to occupy the place that belongs solely to God in our hearts. Hypocrisy and falseness. Finally, a fourth serious sin that displeases God is hypocrisy and falseness. Jesus Christ vehemently denounced this behavior during his earthly ministry, especially regarding hypocritical religious leaders of his time. In Matthew 23, he rebukes them for their false piety and lack of integrity. Hypocrisy involves professing a faith or morality that is not lived out in practice. It is acting differently from what is preached, seeking only the approval of men instead of true communion with God. Jesus exhorts us to be sincere in our words and actions, to live according to the principles of the kingdom of God, and not to fall into the trap of falsehood. Therefore, my friends, these are the 4 serious sins that displease God and that we need to flee from in our lives: pride and arrogance, injustice and exploitation, idolatry and worship of false gods, and hypocrisy and falseness. By distancing ourselves from these behaviors and turning to a life of humility, justice, truth, and exclusive devotion to our Creator, we will be walking the path of true communion with God and spiritual fulfillment. May we reflect on these words and always strive to live according to the sacred teachings of the Bible, honoring God in all that we do. Thank you for watching, and may the peace and grace of the Lord be with us always. Until the next video.